This video will focus on the trick on how to quickly label the coordinates of the reference angle. Before we jump into this picture that we have here, please remember that reference angle is the angle that is located in the first quadrant. And we also remember that the coordinates of this reference angle represents very important information about the angle. X represents the cosine of the angle and the Y represents the sine of the angle. So this is the trick. We're going to write the coordinates of each of these angles, 30, 45, and 60. So we need to determine the X and Y values for this. The fastest way to do this is this. First, we are going to create, each of these will have a fraction. So I'm just going to create that bar that separates the numerator and the denominator. And all of these will have a denominator of 2. And then this is how it works. We go down this way from 1, 2, and 3. So I can label the top here as 1. Then I go 2 here, and this is 3. Now, after that, we remember that all the numerators here should be placed inside the square root symbol. So that means this is a square root of 1, where the square root of 1 is just 1. So we don't really need to write the square root in there. So the 2 here will get the square root, and the 3 will get the square root. So these are the X values for 60, 45, and 30. Now let's have the Y values. It's going to be the opposite. Since we started 1, 2, 3, we do it backwards. So we start from 3, 2, and 1. And then again, we square root all of the numerators. So square root the 3, square root the 2, and then the square root of 1 is just 1. So we don't really need to write the square root. So these are the coordinates for these points right here. Again, remember that this is a unit circle. Okay, it was mentioned at the beginning that the X represents the cosine of the angle and the Y represents the sine of the angle. So I'm just gonna write that up here. Okay, so in this picture right here, we go ahead and say that the cosine of 60 is 1/2. The cosine of 45 is square root of 2 over 2. The cosine of 30 is square root of 3 over 2. And then remember, the Y represents the sine of the angle. So the sine of 60 is square root of 3 over 2. The sine of 45 is square root of 2 over 2. And then the sine of 30 is 1/2. Now, we need to remember these values because the absolute value for the rest of the sine and cosine for all the other angles that we have here is actually equal to the sine and cosine of the reference angle. So let's check here if we got these values right. So first we have cosine 60. So we start with 60. So if I go put cosine 60, the value here is 0.5, and that is actually 1/2. So it matches with this value right here. Now if we go cosine 45, so cosine 45, the value for that is this one. So let's see if this square root of 2 over 2 is actually this value. So that would be square root of 2 divided by 2 is actually the same value. Now let's see the cosine of 30. So we have cosine 30. That's the value for cosine 30. Now let's see if square root of 3 over 2 is the same as this. So that would be square root of 3 divided by 2 is actually the same value. So they match up. Now let's go to the sine here. So let's check if it would match up. So let's go ahead and say sine 30. We're expecting to have it as 0.5 because it says here that it's 1/2. And so it is 0.5. Now let's see sine 45. So the value right there is this. So again, remember that the Y represents the sine. So this is the sine value of 45. So let's see square root of 2 divided by 2, and the value is a match. And so let's see the sine of 60. So sine is represented by the Y value right there on the order pair, on this order pair. So let's see sine 60 is this value. Let's see if square root of 3 over 2 is a match to this. So that would be square root of 3 divided by 2 is actually the same. That's it. If you find this video helpful, hit like and subscribe for more math videos. See ya!